Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet, and I want to talk to you about the requirements for transferring into my company, to Interventions, or the requirements for starting. If you will, we get a lot of phone calls for people that say, hey, do you do this type of service, anger management, domestic violence, substance abuse, and they'll give us a lot of information. Ultimately over time we've learned, just come in. Just come in, fill out the paperwork, show your face, give us the material you need, if you will, and then we can get you started. Now I say that because of the large number of times we've had people that have called in and said, hey, I'm on my way, I'm going to be there, and then later we find out they told a case manager or they told some other person that we've been accepted and all ready to go, when in fact they've never walked in the door. So a phone conversation to say, I'm coming, or at least for you to hear somebody in this end that says, yes, welcome aboard, come on down, it is not a contractual obligation that you in fact belong to us or that you attend here. That's number one. Number two, once a person comes to our agency, we have our own little protocol, our own way of doing business, okay? And part of that is that I work for you and I really want to do a good job. And so even though you may have to be here because it's a requirement for a parenting program or some other case manager's suggestions, that doesn't change that I want to give you the best quality program I can. So I work really hard. You'll see a monitor over here left that I always have PowerPoint presentations that are the backdrop. There's a goal which would give you what that topic is. There's some things that you need to work on during that course. We have at the end of the course what's called a points to ponder, where you ask some questions. Did you get the high points out of the material here? And as you finish each class, I initial off from the bottom because I'm satisfied that you've learned a lot. Understand, every class you come is organized, orchestrated. They've all been published, and I've been doing them for a long time, so I'm pretty good at it. I know what I'm looking for. You all have found the hard way sometimes that you can't use your phone to text message, you can't daydream and spin, because if I see that happening, I'm going to call attention to you and ask you some questions. So the level that you have to attain to get credit for a class is driven by me or one of my facilitators that I've trained. Now think about that. I get people that come from another agency that say, hey, look, I finished 10 classes, can I transfer? Understand, same requirement. You walk in the door, you fill out the paperwork, and you've now started with me. But you started with me on that day. You didn't start with me the day you started at the other agency. So one issue we're running into is that people are coming and they're finishing 15 classes with me or 12 classes with me, and they're saying, I'm ready for my completion letter. Well, I just was in the courthouse last week, and it really doesn't work that way, because the judge looks at me and says, did this person complete that program according to your criteria? And of course, my answer is no. Well, why? Well, they only finished 13 classes with me, Your Honor. So what about the other 12, the other 13? I said, Your Honor, I'm not a part of that. I don't even know what their topics were. And the judge, in my mind, using common sense and logic, said, well, get from the other person, have the client get from the other person a letter in good standing. Letter in good standing. Think about it. Those of you that went to college or trade school, you don't go to another school without a letter in good standing. You don't. Got to have a letter in good standing. Letter in good standing that they satisfied that person for whatever they did. Then the judge also said, and then get a list of the topics that they had at that other place, compare it to yours, see if they add up. And if they add up, then that's up to you. But if they don't add up, you've got to suggest to that person what classes they have to take to meet the requirements for your program. I thought that was a pretty good suggestion. Got that? So this question keeps arising over and over again. I finished classes in California, I finished classes in New York, whatever. Can I transfer? Of course you can transfer. But to get credit to transfer over, we need a letter in good standing, and we need some understanding of what did you do there, and can we in fact apply it to here. Now the reason I tell you that is because the judge looks at me and says, I'm not here about your completion letter, and I'm not here about the number of classes that you've attended. What I'm here about is, did you learn anything? And then the judge also said this and said, I understand that sometimes you're here a little bit longer than you want to be, but I'm going to take that into consideration because I'm the one that knows how long you've done all this stuff, and when you've done all this stuff, whether it be beyond 26 weeks, 35 or 40 weeks, because it all didn't add up, I'm going to acknowledge to you that I think you're trying to do a good job at being a parent, and I'm going to weigh in your favor if in fact you're working hard and diligently to bring this to closure. Well, that applies to everybody here. And the idea that you're bringing classes from someplace else, you know, I will accept them, the same conditions that we just talked about. I just need to know that you're in good standing. I need to know what you had there, and I need you to understand that I don't issue certificates from here unless I'm satisfied that you finished the material that we put on the books as being representative of what a completion certificate is like. Okay? I hope that explains some of this stuff. I mean, it keeps popping up as a topic over and over again. I think it applies to everybody.